A country discovers oil, not a little, a lot, enough to transform its future, build roads, fund schools, stabilize its currency, maybe even join the ranks of developed nations. Investors rush in, headlines explode, the story writes itself. And yet, 20 years later, the roads are still broken. The currency is weaker than ever, debt has ballooned, and somehow the country is poorer than when it started. So what happened? Because this isn't a rare story, it's a pattern, and the system behind it is quiet, almost invisible, but it shapes which countries rise and which ones stay stuck. Here's the part most people never see. When a developing country wants to grow, build infrastructure, stabilize its economy, invest in industry, it usually doesn't have enough capital on its own, so it borrows. From global lenders, big institutions, wealthy nations, private investors. On the surface, this looks normal, even helpful. But the terms of that borrowing, that's where the story really begins. Because most of these loans aren't in the country's own currency, they're in dollars. That sounds like a small detail, it's not. Imagine you earn in one currency, pananan pishi, but your debt is in another. Every time your currency weakens, your debt effectively grows. Not because you borrowed more, but because the exchange rate moved against you. And in volatile economies, that happens a lot. So now instead of focusing on growth, the country is constantly managing risk, trying to earn enough dollars through exports, tourism, foreign investment, just to service its debt. Growth becomes secondary, survival comes first. Now add another layer. When global interest rates rise, especially in the United States, those dollar-denominated debts become more expensive overnight. The country didn't change anything, but its payments just went up. At the same time, global investors start pulling money out of riskier markets. Capital flows back to safer economies. The developing country loses investment, its currency weakens, and its debt burden increases again. It's a feedback loop, and it's brutal. So what does the country do? It cuts spending, public services shrink, infrastructure projects stall, social programs get slashed. Not because they want to, but because they have to. Debt payments come first, they always do. And then comes the next step. When the situation gets worse, when the country can't keep up, it turns to international institutions for help. Emergency loans, bailouts, rescue packages, but those don't come free. They come with conditions. Raise taxes, cut subsidies, privatize state-owned industries, open markets to foreign competition, reduce government spending. On paper, these policies are meant to stabilize the economy. In reality, they often hit the most vulnerable parts of society first. Fuel prices rise, food becomes more expensive, jobs disappear, and the country becomes even more dependent on external capital. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because the system isn't necessarily broken. In many ways, it's working exactly as designed. Capital flows to stability, risk gets priced aggressively, and countries that need money the most pay the highest cost for it. Now go back to that country with oil. On paper, it should be rich. But to develop that oil, it needs infrastructure, technology, investment. So it borrows. Again, in dollars. Global companies step in to extract the resource, profits flow outward, debt stays local, and if commodity prices fall, which they always do eventually, the country's revenue collapses. But the debt doesn't. It's fixed, in dollars, unforgiving. This is sometimes called the resource trap, but the real trap isn't the resource, it's the financial structure surrounding it. And here's the irony. The more a country tries to integrate into the global financial system, the more exposed it becomes to forces it doesn't control. Interest rates set thousands of miles away. Investor sentiment shifting overnight. Currency movements driven by decisions in entirely different economies. It's like trying to build a house on a foundation that someone else keeps moving. Now zoom out. This isn't just about one country. Dozens of nations operate inside this same framework. Some manage it better than others. A few escape, but many stay locked in a cycle. Borrow to grow just enough to service debt, then borrow again. And every crisis resets the clock. A currency crash, a spike in global rates, A sudden drop in exports. Each time, progress gets pulled backward. Years of development, undone in months. Meanwhile, wealthier nations operate under a completely different set of rules. They borrow in their own currency. They control monetary policy. They can print money in emergencies. They can absorb shocks in ways developing countries simply can't. So when people ask why some countries stay poor, it's not just corruption, it's not just bad policy, it's not just lack of resources, it's the structure of the system they're operating inside. A system where access to capital comes with hidden constraints, where the cost of borrowing reflects not just risk but power, and where the rules quietly favor those who already have stability. And yet, this system isn't going anywhere. If anything, it's becoming more complex, more interconnected, more sensitive to global shocks. Which raises a difficult question. If the path to development requires borrowing, but the terms of that borrowing can lock you into dependency, then what does a real escape actually look like? And more importantly, who, if anyone, gets to take it?